We have Cass who's calling in from Colorado who wants to talk to us. Cass, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Not too much. I saw Dr. Darrel Ray on and decided I wanted to call in. And it's funny you mentioned about the confusion between freedom from religion and recovering from religion, because I'm actually a part of both. So sometimes when I talk to people, I'm like, I'm a part of RFR and FFRF. So I just throw out all the R's and all the F's everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see how that comes up a lot. So you're a volunteer with your organization yourself. Do you do peer support with your work?
Yeah, I do a fair amount with recovering from religion, but I think my favorite thing that I do is I help run support groups every month. And I actually run 3 every month. 2 are just kind of generic for anybody to come in and hang out and talk about their experience. And another one is specifically for persons with disabilities. And I really like that meeting a lot. I like them all. Every time I hold a new support group, it's my new favorite one.
Great. What's the value that comes to you from doing that?
You know, for me, it was really something. It's really nice to be able to talk with people about their journeys. And I think earlier in the show you were saying that you find yourself as an empath, and I find myself kind of in the same category as that. So I really like bonding and connecting with people in that kind of way. And you know, these kinds of support groups are something that I really wish that I had available or had known about as I was leaving religion, because it would have been really nice to know that, you know, that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't the only person who was having doubts or having questions or just, you know, was looking for different kinds of answers. So for me, it's really nice to be able to provide that kind of support to people. And it's so amazing of how simple just listening to somebody and acknowledging that their feelings and that them as a person is valid and heard. Like it's amazing how much that means to people when you do something so simple like that.
Cass is way underselling themselves, period. Cass does an enormous amount in leading our social media. We're all over the place, and it's largely due to what Cass and his team, because Cass has put together an amazing social media team for recovery from religion. So anyway, I just want to let everybody know we're not hearing it all from Cass. He's doing a lot more.
Dr. Ray's like, I'm going to make sure we plug everything we can and say, hey, Cass is doing it all. But yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. I'm happy to hear that such a thing does exist for people that do need it, and that you can be a super great support for that. And I like what you said too about like, I wish this was there for me. Like that sounds amazing. Having a support group that I could go to, especially if it's one in person. Oh yeah. I wish that was like a thing for me where I was at in, you know, Waco, Texas a couple of years ago. But yeah, I'm so glad that RFR is doing more stuff like that. So very cool, Cass. So you've been a volunteer, sounds like, for a little bit now. You're doing a lot of different stuff behind the scenes. Is there any big upcoming projects or stuff that's happening for RFR right now? What's the future looking like?
Yeah, so the future, I mean, at least in social media, we are planning on doing all kinds of fun stuff. You know, so we're definitely looking at planning on maybe doing some stuff on Twitch. We definitely want to move on to being more active on YouTube and on Instagram and on TikTok. You know, we've got a lot of things cooking up in the background here. And it's going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. You know, and of course, if anybody listening wants to volunteer and help us out, we would love some help.
Cool.
And Cass and his team also interact with our Australia team. And they have their own unique challenges around social media in Australia, but we try to coordinate all this stuff around the world. There's a lot to do.
Yeah, so you were actually telling me before the show that just recently RFR has been officially incorporated in Australia, which is
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. So how big is it? Are we going to get? Is it global domination at this point? What's next? You're going to get to Madagascar, or where's the next center going to go?
I don't know. I think Cass agrees with me that we are on a road and path to take over the world. That's our goal.
Cool.
Now, if we get to Mars, then we'll be sending people to Mars to
get there before
them.
Elon does.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Right.
Let's do it. Cass, thanks so much for sharing your experiences with being a volunteer with RFR. Was there anything else that you wanted to share before we let you go?
I think I'm okay. I could always talk about my story and how I left religion, but if we don't have time for that, that's okay too. I'm happy I got to share, and happy I got to come hang out and share what I do and share how awesome recovering from religion is.
Oh man, you should. I mean, if you want to talk about that real quick before we get to the next caller, if you think it'd be interesting for other folks to hear, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to keep it between 2 or 3 minutes. I'll try not to ramble on too much here. But for me, my journey, I was raised as a young Earth creationist. So I was taught that the Earth was 6,000 years old. It was completely covered in water. I mean, the whole shebang. The Bible was super literal in my upbringing. So from about 2 months old until I was 13 or 14. I was raised in one single church. And not only did I go to this church for church, I also went there for elementary and middle school. So for big chunks of my life, I was spending, 6-7 hours and 6-7 days a week at church. So I was super indoctrinated into this belief system. Sometime in middle school, I got diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. And that kind of started my journey away from religion, because I couldn't justify there being this all-powerful, all-loving dude in the sky while also having my genetic makeup have errors in it. It didn't really start making sense to me anymore. And so I started asking questions, and, I don't know how familiar you guys are with religion, but they tend to not really like questions.
You don't say. You don't say. That'd be news to me, Cass. But yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my first steps away, and my family actually went the other direction when I got diagnosed. They clung even harder to their religion, and so that caused a lot of strife and a lot of complications within our family dynamics, because they were definitely not supportive of me kind of looking away. They always were trying to rope me back in. They would always bulldoze through my boundaries, when I didn't want to talk about religion. And, of course, when you have a religious family, every holiday you celebrate is steeped in religion, so it really made a lot of things complicated there.
Isn't that funny though? Because they want to celebrate their holidays and they want you to go to church, then they want you to do all these things, right? But when you want to talk about the religion, suddenly they don't. Suddenly that conversation's closed off. Isn't that interesting? Because I feel like I've had a similar experience, and I feel like a lot of people have had that experience.
Yeah, exactly. They always tried bringing up certain aspects of their religion, and I'd be like, remember when they did this super awful thing? Or I would just twist it and being like, well, this was a very religious group of people attacking someone for a different ideology, and the entire conversation would stop. It would just end right there. It was okay, you guys don't really want to talk about this.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've had a really great journey to go across from growing up in a young Earth creationist household with a religious school and religious background to becoming a volunteer for recovering from religion. So good for you for making that journey and for making it easier for other people to go on that journey. Cass, props to you for that.
Well, thank you so much. stuff like what the ACA does introduced me to recovering from religion and really helped me learn that I was in fact not alone on my journey and in my thoughts and belief system. So, Dan and everybody behind the scenes with the ACA and everybody at the ACA, just want you guys to know that I very much personally appreciate what you guys do as well.
Oh, well, thanks so much, Cass.
Good.
That really does mean a lot.
Thanks for calling, Cass.